Hello, welcome to the D&D in a Castle DM Deep Dive, and we are actually coming to you from the castle itself here in the UK. We are at D&D in a Castle with my lovely guest, Elisa Teague, who is one of our dungeon masters for our event that's about to start. We are in the middle of an event, and Elisa is helping out at this current round of D&D in a Castle, and in the next round she's got players coming for a 3-day campaign with her at D&D in a Castle. So welcome, Elisa. Welcome to the castle.
Thank you. It is absolutely amazing to be back in what I'm calling my second home at this point. I think I spend more time in this castle than anywhere else in the world that is not my house.
Yes. And you've been to D&D in a Castle many times since the very beginning. You've been with us offering a variety of campaigns, always something new and different every time.
Every time.
So tell us, first of all, what have you got planned for your players coming up this round without spoilers?
It's so hard. It's like in a couple of days, I want to say everything, but I can't because they might be watching this and I don't want them to. I am planning a dark, whimsical, Feywild adventure with a lot of cool Tim Burton-y, Alice in Wonderland-y, fairy tale influences. I've brought a lot of brand new custom terrain and custom monsters that are super cool and so freaky, and I can't wait to unleash it all on my players. And I just love it because, what the idea that I had for this, I started, like 6-7 months ago. And then when I got my players' backstories for their characters, I was able to incorporate those, and it actually fundamentally changed my story because I may have an idea of what I'm running in a setting and the kind of a vibe that I want to go for, but everything, as you said, is different every time. It's all custom written for those tables and then never played again. And very exclusive.
And you're coming back this fall as well, this autumn, to this castle.
I am, for 2 rounds.
For 2 rounds. You've got 2 back-to-back games here, and they're both sold out.
Yes.
And your table that's coming up is also sold out.
Yes.
And so Elisa Teague has been all sold out, very popular dungeon master, Elisa. But we have happy news if you have not yet heard the happy news, which is that Elisa is agreed to join us this summer.
Yes.
This July 6th to 10th at our American castle in the US. We are calling it Thelian's Rest, the Mohican Castle, and that was the same place that you ran a campaign last year.
Yes.
And you're coming back. Tickets have just gone for sale about this last week or 2, and so if you're interested in coming and playing with Elisa, grab those tickets quickly because her games do have a
Yeah, I think this is the first public announcement of it, so now I expect them to go quickly. We'll see. But yeah, if you are interested in playing with me and having a custom written campaign just for you and your table, this is how you do it. And I'm very excited about what I have planned. What will end up on the table is going to depend on my players, for sure. But I do have a general idea of the setting and an overarching storyline.
Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking and what are you excited about for that, and where did that idea come from?
Well, here's the thing. One of my most talked about previous campaigns that everybody has now heard about, I think Castle Whisper Network, I don't know what it is. I ran a few years ago, I ran a campaign that was Egyptian pantheon related, using the D&D Egyptian pantheon, and it ended up being a very talked about game because, again, I brought all custom terrain and minis, and the story was really unique. It was, we were whisked away to another, plane of existence. Kemet and my players got to experience a different type of game than they normally get. And I've been asked about that a lot, and I don't want to run the same thing. And so I've chosen another pantheon to kind of base this around, which is the Norse pantheon, which is one of my favorites. And as a religious studies minor in school, and I really love all of the nitty gritty details of the mythologies of all of these. I have come up with a really cool overarching idea, and I already have started. I don't know what's going to be used and what won't be, because again, I have not written it until until it's time, until I get everybody's backstories. But I've already started putting together pieces of terrain, custom things, thinking about the puzzles that I am going to be doing, that are directly related and tie into that theme and setting. And that is what I'm going to be running at the castle this summer. And some of these pieces you would not even believe. It's just simply beautiful, and I can't wait to put everything on the table.
Amazing.
I'm very excited.
You, Elisa, you're well known for crafting a lot of your stuff. You always bring a very full table, a very immersive experience for the players. You've been running events or games in this castle, and last summer you ran a campaign at the US castle.
Yes, I did a whole fairy tale inspired adventure last castle with, again, custom everything. It was really fun. It was really
and so
great.
what is it? How is it running at the US castle? What's the experience at that castle? How's it different from this
I
one?
love that castle too. It's very different than this one. I highly encourage you to try both experiences. No, I really do. I know that sounds like just like a pitch or whatever, but I love this castle so much. I love the fact that we are in a living, breathing, castle, and you can feel the history here. At the castle in the U.S., I love the foresty area around the property. You walk through during the daytime and you feel like you are walking through a magical, like fairy forest, and it is gorgeous, and you really get, inspired by it. And then at night, it's like you're walking through, and I don't mean to scare anybody. I love this vibe, but it's like Blair Witch Project. And you get this creepy, haunted, foresty vibe that I also get inspired by. And I love the outside, like the alfresco party area that we had there, that for dining and for socializing in the bar area. And there were really nice community centers at that castle in the US. And I don't know, I love both experiences. It's really cool. And also for people that can't travel for whatever reasons, this is a great option to stay within the US.
Yeah. So what keeps you coming back to D&D Castle? You've been coming since the very beginning. What makes you want to keep coming back?
I don't know. You ask me this every time, and I probably give very similar answers each time. I love the people here. I love the community. I don't get to DM that often. I know people are shocked when I say that. I am a game designer. I spend a lot of my time either behind the computer or as a player on stage at conventions, promoting my things that I write and put out there. I've done so many different games and TTRPGs, and D&D itself, especially my puzzle stuff. And I love the opportunity to connect with players of all different types. I learn so much every time I DM. I'm learning more ways to make my games better and better. And I also like to inflict that's the wrong word, but no, it's not. I like to inflict the same heartbreak, and then also like heroism, and just everything that I feel as a player, everything I've grown up with. Been playing for over 35 years, and everything I've experienced, I want to share with other people. And because each of us here at the castle, each DM has such a wildly different style, I think it's really important for people to get a chance to play with so many different DMs and get all of those experiences. We're basically like passing along like a family saga. It's it's one of these things where it's like we've learned how we play, and then we share that along, and it's really just connecting person to person throughout the community. And to me, that's very special. This castle itself, D&D and the castle itself, you just don't get any experience like this anywhere. There are a lot of other places that have boasted that, oh, you can play D&D here or there. It is not the same. It is never the same as this experience. And everybody here on the staff have like taken such great care that every event gets better and better every single time. And I don't know, I love it.
Thank you. You had mentioned a lot of the DMs, so there are a lot of dungeon masters that we have that are all from different backgrounds and different play styles, and offer different things. If you were coming as a guest to D&D in a cast, I mean, I'm not going to ask you to pick. I'm not going to ask you to pick. I'm going to ask a meta question.
Sure, meta question.
My meta question is: how would you advise someone to go about picking their DM?
Okay, I like that question a lot better, because I cannot pick between all my children. Not that they're my children, but like I love them all. They're all my friends, and they're amazing. How would I go about? I would say evaluate what your play style is. Each of us are given questionnaires when we sign up, or I mean, actually, every single time we can update what our play style is, what kind of vibe we're giving. For me, I run generally like darker storylines that are spotted with whimsy and humor, with a lot of like role-playing encounters and investigation, exploration, and a lot of puzzle-y stuff, right? And I do vary up my puzzles depending on my session 0 that I send out a questionnaire months in advance to my players, and I say, hey, where do you sit on that spectrum of how you like to do puzzles? And then quite a bit of combat thrown in there too. But some people run very light, cozy games, right? Where it's like you're not going to get a lot of combat, you're going to get a lot of role playing, and that's it. And some people run very, very combat heavy games, or like we are going through a dungeon getting loot types of games without a lot of the narrative. And then some people do theater of the mind. Some people put tons of minis and terrain on the table like I do. And I would say play with what you are used to playing with first, unless you want a wholly different experience. And then kind of look through all of our portfolios and our little profiles on the D&D in a Castle website, and see if anything grabs your eye. Is like, oh, I've never played in a game quite like that, and choose one of those. Some of us are known to play, like I usually start at level 5, and we end up somewhere around 8 or 9 by the end, depending on what my players do. Some DMs do all like really high levels. I know like B Dave does only 20th level, and so see what kind of fits what you're looking for. Everybody's great. Honestly, everybody's great.
And if someone was looking at your game description or game style description and your campaigns, what do you think would draw someone to your, what would they be looking for that you would be satisfying them?
I would hope that people at least know this about me by now. Again, I do love puzzles. I wrote the puzzle section of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. I've done most of the puzzle-y stuff that has appeared in a lot of the D&D stuff. I wrote escape rooms for Magic the Gathering. I wrote the D&D live puzzles. I did Stream of Many Eyes and all of that. And so I'm really well known for that and incorporating that into the terrain. And so while I wouldn't say, hey, if you don't like puzzles, don't play my game, because I would never say that, because I do adjust. I do it in a way that doesn't stop play, and really everything becomes immersive. So I think that if you like to have your story being told at the table, I'm never telling my story.
Right.
I'm never running anything that is something that I've pre-written, and no matter what group comes in, they can play it. Every single little detail in the backstory is hooked into whatever my players give me. And even if they don't give me much ahead of time, as we play, that starts to get incorporated. I'm writing every night.
Right.
I'm adjusting at every single break. And at the end, people are in tears, not sad tears, but really cathartic feelings at the end, because we've really grasped what story they want to tell. And so I think that's really more my vibe. I don't know. I really like everything to be extremely immersive.
And I will say, People come back again and again for Elisa's games. A lot of loyal players that
I
as
do
soon
have
as
a lot.
Elisa is announced, they're jumping on those tickets. So people who have experienced your game are clearly drawn to it and want to keep coming back for
I'm
more.
pretty sure I have a player this spring just in a few days that is going to be his 5th time playing
At
with
your
me.
table?
So yeah.
So yeah.
So yeah.
That's definitely a good sign. So I would also say if you're thinking about who you'd like to play with or what event might be right for you, we are on our website and we have a live chat on our website and also can be emailed. And we would love to talk through what you're looking for in a game of D&D and identify where might be a good fit for you. I am going to ask, we didn't say this up front, but we are actually live, so we can. I know it's a little early in the States. We're in the UK right now, so we're a little later in the day, but if you are watching live, if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat. And I'm turning to our assistant to see if we have anything that someone has asked.
That's right, we do. We have a question from Brendan McLeod,
Ah,
past guest.
yes,
multiple times.
no, Brendan.
And he's asked the question, what would you say you look for in a player at your table?
Oh wow, I definitely want somebody who is engaged and wanting to be there, right? I've never had the opposite experience here. Sometimes at conventions, I get people that are looking at their phone or doing whatever. I don't think you can really play one of my games while trying to manage other things like that. But really, I love all sorts of players because I like a well-rounded table. I want somebody who really wants to be in for the combat. I want somebody who's really in there for investigation. I want somebody who's really heavy on role play because I feel like each person that brings their thing to the table influences everybody else at the table. So if you have one outgoing role player, everybody else tries to do that a little bit. And if you have one person who's like, okay, no, we really need to figure out these clues, then everybody else gets in. And so I feel like every type of player is great because their assets just add to everybody else's and they complement each other so well. So yeah, if you're ready to play some D&D and that's what, I mean, when you're here, that's what we do here. And so if you're ready for it, then you are the person I want at my table.
Cool. I do have one question, which is for D&D in a castle generally. It's an all-inclusive vacation. Sometimes it involves traveling internationally. It's a time investment and honestly a monetary investment as well. What do you think makes D&D in a castle worth it?
I said this last time, I think, but this place feels to me like summer camp. You come back, you see familiar faces or friends that you've hung out with. And, each time there may have been that one person that I saw from across the room where we had a very quick little chat, but didn't really get a chance to know. And then the next time I get to know them more and more. And I really, truly feel that everybody here, guests, staff, and the DMs are all like friends. We are all here for the same reason. And again, like I said earlier, there is no other experience that is like this one, where you have this building, growing community where, you haven't seen anybody in a year. And then suddenly it's like, oh, we're all in the library bar together, toasting our latest victory in our games and sharing what happened in each individual game and comparing, how many players, went down today, and it's like, oh, I had to roll 4 death saves, but I finally got back up, whatever. And I don't know, it's so unique. And I think that's what people bring, like what brings people here, and I mean, this castle, you have the environment around us to boot, like you're staying in a real castle. The rooms here are gorgeously appointed. The food here is fantastic. Same with the US castle, just different. And you're all in one space. It's the all inclusivity thing that you mentioned is so important. You're not like driving in every day or having that distraction. Once you're here, you're living it. You're in it, and it doesn't stop until, sadly, we all have to go home,
and
which
cry.
is all a very sad day because it goes by so fast.
We're all in denial.
Yeah, it's like,
How do you
wait a
feel
second,
end?
did we just start playing? But no, we've been playing for 24, in some cases 30 plus hours, and it just goes by. The whole time flies when you're having fun. This is really the truth here. So I don't know. I love it.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, I feel like I say people come for the D&D and you stay for the people.
Yeah.
Because it is like we just sort of grow a community here. And it is true, you can play D&D anywhere, and D&D is great everywhere. D&D is great at a home game, D&D is great everywhere. But at this specific event, it's more than just a game, although the game is the heart of it, the game in the way that it's set up, with people playing right through with their same party and so intensively and away from everyone.
And then
really
also in
creates a shared experience.
between games, we have so much to do here. Like this morning, there were a couple of people that didn't have morning games. They had afternoon and evening sessions. And I was at the mini painting table and was just sitting with a group of people chit-chatting and painting minis. And I mean, it's awesome. And then there are one-shots and panels and performances. And I mean, there's just everything revolves around D&D.
Yeah.
But you get so much more in addition to just coming and playing your game. And that really gives people a chance to like intermingle with people outside of their tables and just meet new folks. And I know people that have been at a table and have now made lifelong friends that go and do things outside the castle together, and have bonded, and they come back to the castle together and rebook their tables together. One of my repeat tables is a group of people that only a couple of them knew each other, but now that table like rebooked me, and the whole table. And so they're a group now, and it's amazing.
Yeah, you find your tribe here.
Absolutely.
And do you have any specific memories that really stand out for you? I know you mentioned I know there were a lot. But
so many.
Maybe like you said about the sort of Egyptian style game, and I remember that. And I remember
Everyone
that you had your
remembers that
manicure done with the hieroglyphs.
I did. When I say I go in theme, I am immersive, and I am in theme. I am all in. No, I think the reason why that one is so memorable is because the story was told the night that they all TPK'd themselves in order to solve a problem that they did not need to do that. Right. to solve the problem, but it worked, and it was amazing. And they went into the underworld and as their dead selves, which was perfectly fine. And actually, it worked better than I would have thought. It worked better than what I thought they were going to do. It was very clever, extremely clever. Some moments. Oh wow, there are just so many. I had one last year where I had set up a whole route for the party to get these bones that they needed to resurrect into an undead army that they were going to command, because they needed to send something against these mind flayers and elder brains that were actually terraforming Faerun with their giant drills and going to be taking over. And they knew they couldn't walk in there because their minds would be taken over, and they would either be killed with psychic damage or be taken over themselves. And so they had gone through a bunch of different clues and figured out that, if we send undead in there, they can't do anything, and we'll have an army at our command. And they had gathered up a bunch of bones from a troll cave where these trolls were eating people because there was some starvation going on, and they were going into the village. This was a secondary problem, obviously. And so they had seen all these bones, and they're like, hey, we can make an undead army. And so, overnight, I'm like, okay, they're going to take these bones along a route, and I need to figure out a way to get them. I'm like, I'm going to put wagons for rent and all of these different things so they can cart these things to where they need to go. No, they didn't do that. Instead, they dragged them all outside of the cliffside, where there was a several 100-foot drop, and they just pushed all the bones off the edge of the cliff, and then jumped off the cliff. They had different ways of levitating and feather fall and things like that. That some of them got slightly damaged on the way down. But no, they pushed all the bones off the cliff and just saved themselves hours of travel time or days, actually. And that was also very clever. So that one sticks out in my mind a lot. I don't know. There's so many. I will say that I come across the most clever players here at the castle. They really know how to problem solve in ways I never would have thought about.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing goes as anticipated.
No,
As
but
you
that's
say.
great. Again, that's how I learn for next time. Like, all right, next time, don't put the cliff right above the bad guys. Yeah.
We have talked about your summer campaign. We've talked about your game that is coming
Mhm.
up right now. Although it's sold out, you are coming back for 2 rounds in the fall. And I know that
Yes.
you are running a game in Calimshan,
I am.
and that there's a new source materials for Calimshan that are coming out. And so that's exciting. People are going to get to sort of have a little experience of that. And so just tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing there.
Well, I have back-to-back rounds. Again, those 2 games are not, the actual games are not written, but the setting, obvious. Well, I don't need to write this setting. It's written, which is amazing. I have not played in Calimshan in 20 years. And I'm just probably more actually. I'm so excited to play there and run a game there, 2 games. And so each of those rounds will be completely different stories. And I have a little bit of an idea for each one of them. But again, I'm going to, once I get to interview my players and see their backstories and send out my pre-session zeros, I will be able to like figure out more of the feel that I would do for each of them. But one of them I'm hoping is going to be a really high fantasy, magical, djinns included story, and one with more political intrigue, investigation, and a deep dive into the area itself, and with some surprises. Each one of those already has some surprises, but I can't. If I talk about it, it will ruin everything.
Yes.
So I'm very excited because what I'm bringing on, it's already in progress. The build for this campaign or these campaigns has already started and is actually almost complete. And I'm bringing some really beautiful terrain to the castle, and it's going to be something that I will say, yes, my players have gotten some really cool builds here in the past.
This one might top them all.
Yeah, there's nothing like this one. And I'm really, really excited about it.
They are very lucky. And if you're interested in being one of Elisa's lucky players, not at that campaign, but the one this summer in the US, you can come to dindianacastle.com, and you can find write-ups about Elisa.
And I will say, not to interrupt you,
Yeah.
but I will say that if I am announced back for 2026, I want to stay in Calimshan and use that again. So there will be opportunities to play with that in the future as well.
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm going to do is, we have a question. We have another question.
We have 2 things that I think would be worth addressing at this moment. The first is one of your past players, Brett Hollindale.
Hi, Brett.
I believe he was a part of one of the 2 memories that you shared.
Yes, the bones.
The bones.
Yes.
And he said here, that was an epic boss fight. I think it took 12 hours.
Yes, it was. So that was the final boss fight. There were 2 elder brains in the water that were there, and then I had 3 mind flayers. And yes, we went long that day in our final fight. We actually went into our epilogue time and played a 3rd session on day 3, which happens. And it was one of the best boss fights I have ever experienced. They were so smart about everything, and they were meant to be taken down, but they wouldn't. They would not. They fought so hard, and they were amazing. And he's such a wonderful player to play with.
And the second is more of a general statement of, I think, shock from Geeks Faction. It says, "It's a castle?" ?
Yes, we are in a castle.
We are in a castle right now.
Yes.
It is a 600-year-old castle, 600 plus.
600 plus, yeah.
600 plus. It's a real castle in the north of England.
Haunted, in fact.
Haunted, seen action in the Wars of the Roses. It's got a long history. Has been involved.
The king was here once.
The King James the Sixth, sometimes known as James the First, visited here on his way to Edinburgh from London when he was king. So it's a real castle. We're in a real castle.
Yes.
We're in an actual castle. D&D in a castle is in an actual castle. It is all in the name. And the castle in the US is a fairy tale style castle that was built by someone who actually fought in the war in Europe and was
loved
so inspired,
castles, yeah.
was inspired by the architecture and loved the fantasy and the lore. And it's got a very fairy tale kind of feeling. You can see that whoever built it was somebody who loved fantasy and loved that kind of magic, and it has a real magical feeling. It also is haunted. There's a genuine graveyard on site.
There's a graveyard
There's
on
a graveyard. There's some creepy stuff out there too, but it is a newer build, but it's a very fantastical feeling at that castle as well. So yes,
we're in a
it's
castle.
We're in a castle right now. This is a real, genuine castle. Yeah. Yes. Great. And I think we're about at our time. I'm going to invite Elisa to take us out.
Take you out.
Well, don't actually take me out, but
I mean, there's some swords I know just in the next room. How would you like to do this?
To take us out of the interview with an invitation to the viewers to come and join your campaign this July 6 to 10 are the dates in the US, and come in and participate with you in that game.
Dearest viewers, join me this July 6th through 10th as we traverse the plains and join the realms of the gods. Will you fight with valor? Will you become a true hero? If you fall, will you go to Valhalla? We will see. Join me for a game to remember forever.
Amazing. Well, I hope to see you there. I will see you there.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for joining us. And we'll see you at the castle.
Bye, everyone.